Hello, tanks and tankettes, and welcome to my look at the leKpz M41 90mm. Actually, I am reliably informed that it's the leichter Kampfpanzer, but you know we're just going to go with the leKpz because comedy. It's funny, right? Yeah, I'm just hilarious, me. So what it is, very briefly, it's really easy to sum up. It's an M41 Walker Bulldog with a German 90mm gun. It has been put out much as the 1357 GF was last year because, of course, the WGL finals are upon us. But I have to say, you have to take this look at it with a pinch of whatever, because for one thing, I haven't had long to play this. They gave us the preview accounts on the 1st of April and then put the tank on sale on the 3rd of April. And also, my only other Tier 8 light tank is the 1390, which is nothing like this at all. In fact, my only two light tanks over Tier 6 are the 1390 and the Type 62, which is, of course, the Chinese premium Tier 7 light tank. And again, the Type 62, not much like this, I would say. So if you're a fan of the Walker Bulldog, you're probably going to like this because it's pretty much the same thing. Now, it's a tier higher, but that's fine. I mean, honestly, the Walker Bulldog could probably be a tier 8 without too much buffing. It's a pretty nice platform, and you get quite a nice gun upgrade on it as well. It's almost as good as the RU251 gun. I think, in theory, it's supposed to be the same gun, but it's not quite the same gun. Now I'll have a quick look at the stats. The setup I used on this, I'll actually flash up on screen the crew skills I used. I didn't go for an OP crew. The preview accounts they give us have a bunch of free XP, quite a lot of free XP, and of course you can just dump that into crew skills and you could have literally every crew skill. Well, almost actually. I don't think even with the amount they give us, it's like 100 million free XP. It's still not enough to just buy every crew skill that you could put on a crew, because it's 5 sets of crew skills. Although it's only 4 crew members, but of course your commander also doubles as your radio man in this one. At least I think it's the commander. It could be the loader. It's sometimes the loader, but no, it's probably the commander. It's almost always the commander. I didn't actually think to check that. Anyway. So yeah, fairly standard setup. I went with optics because it's a base 400 meter view range, a vertical stabilizer, and a gun rammer. And I think you're probably going to want to go with that. It's more about the gun than anything else. It's a very nice little gun on this machine. Maybe the RU is the same. It almost plays more like a medium tank than what I would do in something like the 1390 or any of my other lower tier scout tanks. So the times I did actually try to do more classic scouty things, generally I wasn't quite fast enough to get to places ahead of other scout tanks. And it's not that it's particularly slow, it's just it doesn't have the best power to weight, and the terrain resistances are also somewhat worse than some of its contemporaries, although not as bad as the RU, as we shall see. However, one alternative setup you could do is potentially ventilation, and if you've got brothers in arms and recon and situational awareness, you can get your view range up to almost 440 meters without the benefit of optics. So that's a possibility if you've got a really OP German light tank crew to go in this thing. So let's actually compare it to its contemporaries. Now I've put the Walker Bulldog in here as well because it's obviously the tank, the chassis it's based on, and the Spähpanzer's next because it's supposedly that gun. But if we look at the actual firepower, the Spähpanzer has more penetration. But because it's supposedly the same gun, what the leKpz gets is the same HE shells with, I think, just over 100 millimeters of penetration. So it's worth carrying more than the usual amount of HE that you might carry with a 90mm gun, just because there are a lot more targets that you can hurt with that 100mm of pen than you could with the usual 30 to 40mm of penetration that a lot of other HE shells get. So worth definitely having some more of those HE. So as we can see, DPM wise, it's actually pretty respectable. Not quite as good as the RU, but better than the WZ, the T54, and definitely better than the 1390. The 1390 is kind of an odd one at tier 8. It really does rely on its autoloader and that clip damage, because otherwise you look at the gun stats, it's not good. It's really not good. Penetration, 182, again slightly behind the RU, but better than the leKpz, the 1390. The Walker Bulldog's gun, actually, at tier 7, isn't that far behind, 175 pen. Is pretty respectable. It's pretty good. You know, that's on a par with tier 7 heavy tanks, for crying out loud. Module damage, fairly usual it looks like, so you're probably going to struggle to track people with the AP shells, but you might do with HE, not sure. Rate of fire, reload, as you see, again, pretty good. I didn't feel... I mean, it gets the shots out well enough. Like I said, the ammo count is... well, I haven't said that, have I? The ammo count is good, but you still have to be slightly wary of not... Like, you can afford to waste a few shells, but you can't waste too many, otherwise you might actually end up running out. Not such a problem as it was for the Turan, however, the other premium we've had to look at, which does actually have a pretty limited ammo count for its rate of fire, but at least it's no Matilda Black Prince in that regard. But yeah, so gun-wise, it felt good. It doesn't quite have the rate of fire or the penetration of the Spähpanzer, but it's still really quite respectable, and I had some quite nice damage games out of it. So yeah, the gun is absolutely nothing to complain about at all. Shell velocity, however, is on the low side. It's actually better than the Spähpanzer, but it still is going to require probably more lead than you are used to, unless you've played the RU-251. Those shells are not particularly fast, and I think the HE shells are even slower. If we can take a look at those 100mm HE. Yeah, 773. So those are not particularly fast shells. There are times when you're going to get caught out, especially at longer ranges, by just how much lead that you need to give. In terms of the gun stats itself, well, as you can see, it is a pretty clear winner on the aim time. The base aim time is 1.8, but tanks.gg, I think, calculates everything with... You can't change the crew kind of base skill, so it's 100% commander, 110% gunner. And the same with base accuracy, it's 0.38, which is exactly the same as the Walker Bulldog, actually, so it works out as being the 0.36 there. So it's pretty good. It's not a sniper, but it's good enough, more than good enough. And it really is more the shell velocity that makes hitting things at range difficult rather than the actual accuracy of the gun. The accuracy felt pretty decent. Again, not quite as good as the Spähpanzer, but it does beat the Spähpanzer on aim time quite handily. Dispersion, again, the stats identical to the Walker Bulldog here. Not quite as good as some of its contemporaries, but better in some regards than the Spähpanzer. The 1390 is really the clear loser in all of these stats here. It's got the worst aim time. Accuracy's on par, the worst gun handling. I mean, it's got the worst mobility for the most part. So, yeah, it's not really great in comparison, but it does just play very differently. So, in terms of firing on the move, it's pretty reasonable at that, but you're really only going to want to try it at closer ranges. But you've got enough penetration to pull it off, and the fact that you've got the same dispersion combined with a pretty good aim time. Once you stick the vertical stabilizer on as well, it handles very nicely. Zero complaints there. Speed-wise, well, it's the Walker Bulldog, so exactly the same top speed, exactly the same reverse speed, but it does have a slightly worse power-to-weight ratio. And as you can see, it's got a slightly less powerful engine. So that places it actually, in terms of power to weight, on the bottom end. It's actually worse than the 1390 in terms of horsepower per ton, but of course it's got a better top speed. The terrain resistances are also middling. They're not great, but they're not terrible, and it actually does beat the RU quite handily in that regard, but the RU's got more oomph and it's got a better top speed, so the RU's probably going to beat it a lot of the time. It is worse, however, than the regular Walker Bulldog, and it's also worse than the WZ-131 in some ways, but it does beat other tanks. So yeah, it seems to be middle of the pack in terms of that regard. Turret traverse, again, exactly the same as the Walker Bulldog, which actually is pretty snappy. As you can see, it beats all of its competitions there quite handily, so you're not going to have any trouble getting your gun round on target. And hull traverse, not the best, but close to it. 54 degrees is pretty good. Not quite as good as the regular Walker Bulldog, which is actually even going to be better than 56, I think. I don't believe tanks.gg calculates. I think it shows the same track traverse as it would show if you were looking in Garage. I don't think it correctly calculates the true track traverse, because this is the thing that catches people out. Track traverse is always, as displayed in the Garage in World of Tanks, always based on your stock engine. And of course, because premium tanks only get one engine, you're always going to see the true track traverse for premium tanks. But for other tanks, of course, it gives you a false picture. And that's a thing that's bugged me for a long time, is that there's no way to actually figure it out, or to know what it is without figuring it out, without sitting down with a calculator and actually, punching in the numbers and figuring out what the true track traverse is. There's one thing I missed with the gun, actually. Gun depression. 8 degrees all around. I think the RU only gets 10 at the sides. So 8 degrees all around is it's pretty decent. It's very usable, and it's actually not quite as good as the M41, but it does beat its competition quite nicely, apart from the RU over the sides of the tank. So yeah, it could be maybe a little better. Gun depression could always be better. 8 degrees is nothing to complain about, and it's certainly it's very usable, and there's a lot of terrain which you're going to be able to make use of, where in other scout tanks it would be difficult. Armour wise, it's a Walker Bulldog. I did get one-shotted by a T49 in one game. I'd taken one hit, and then the T49 hit me for like, I don't know, 800 health or something like that. So yeah, you will get derped, but that's probably true in a lot of the other scout tanks as well. I mean, the lightweight's the only one with any kind of respectable degree of armour. Otherwise, yeah, HE shells probably will do a lot of damage, so that means artillery shells probably will do a lot of damage, but it's no different from other scouts in that regard. And finally, view range, 400 meters is pretty standard. I think the lightweight's the only one that's got less than that out of this lineup. So it's a decent all-round tier 8 light, and it's okay. It's not the best, but considering it's a premium, I think it's as good as. So that makes it a very nice tank to play, and the fact that it's a premium that makes extra money, that trains up your crews, that is a pretty good bonus. I found it fun to play. Having said that, let's actually get onto some gameplay and see this thing in action. First up, I have this El Haloof game. As you can see, it's a tier 9 match, and this one was more about the damage than anything else. I'm not sure if this is really a typical game for this thing. I don't play a lot of light tanks, so I'm not sure. That's one of the things that's hampered me slightly, is that my experience with these high tier lights is very limited. Now, one thing you can see here is the full camo. Tanks.gg didn't have the little WGL logos on it, and in fact I've already seen it being referred to in various places as the Black Dog because of its camo, obviously, because it's a Walker Bulldog. So yeah, that's not entirely inappropriate. And you can also see that I was just trying to see if I could maybe get up there to spot, but no, not quite enough oomph, even with the new physics and the ability of light tanks to go various places that they couldn't before. No, that was just not possible. I should also say this camo, by the way, like the 1357 last year, it gives camo bonuses. It's the effective equivalent of having free camouflage on your tank, but it does mean that you can't change it, and it does mean you can't have customized insignia on your tank either, or what's the name for the, the bits of text? Something, I can't remember, the word has escaped me. Anyway, you maybe could possibly alter the client files, do a bit of manual modding to get it to show up as being different camo, but that would require a bit of fiddling around. But it'd be possible if you really do hate this this kind of black WGL camo that they've got going on. Some people will not, dislike it as much as the 1357 camo. That was not particularly popular. So this game, it really is going to be just about shooting things lots, and you'll have to wait till the final score screen to actually see how well I do, because thanks to the April 1st game mode, my mods stopped working, but after that's removed, they should start working again in theory. I might have to release like a maintenance update or something of the mod collection to get it working again afterwards. We shall see. But yeah, still, I've already done maybe kind of 600 odd damage, and now I am having a go at this Carnarvon, who is in a reasonable position, actually. I got a little bit of his lower front plate to shoot at, but it's mostly his upper front plate and his turret. And this isn't going to have quite enough penetration for that, maybe with the heat rounds. The Jagdpanther 2, on the other hand, well, that was just unlucky that bounced previously, but I might have hit him again there. Not sure. The accuracy is good enough for this kind of thing. It's not spectacularly good, but it's good enough. You are going to miss shots at this kind of range, though. This is like 350 meters, so it's not super long range, but it's not like you're a sniper with this thing. It's definitely not that level of accuracy. Now, it's slightly weird for me being down this end of the map. I didn't much feel like I was going to be any good up at the northwest, the heavy corner. And my experience on, like I said, my experience with light tanks is limited anyway, but my experience on this map is going more in the middle towards the north. Unless you've got lots of support behind you, it doesn't work out that well. And that SU-122-54 is going to find that out the hard way. He's managed to get all the way across, but of course he's been seen doing it, and he's not going to go unmolested. So I could have gone further along. I could have gone up to the heavy corner and maybe had some success. I don't know, but yeah, in the event, I just ended up being down here for a lot of it. And I don't know, maybe it was a good move, maybe it was a bad move, I've got no idea. It worked out, as you shall see, but as to whether it was a smart idea, I mean, sometimes the dumb ideas work out. Doesn't necessarily mean they aren't dumb ideas, it just means you got lucky on that one occasion. Now, the 1390 appeared out of... that was unexpected. I wasn't expecting him to come around that way, so I took a complete snapshot, which missed, unfortunately, so he's managed to get away with his life. However, the 122-54 has been removed from the equation, so that's fine. We're not going to get shot by him anytime soon. So that just leaves... the stuff in the north and the defending tanks, and I'm just trying to spot at the moment. Now, as you can see, the IS-6 took a right beating, and I could try and push round. I could maybe try and poke around, because there are some tanks that could possibly fire at stuff I light up. However, there's a 1390 and a T-54E1, and the T-54E1 in particular could thrash the pants off me. That thing can get its shots out very quickly, and this doesn't really have a lot of armour. 1390 also could have done a lot of damage, but he's now down, so the main threat, the immediate threat, is the T-54E1, who's actually come down. He's actually dropped. So I'm going to be cautious of him. I know firsthand how much damage those things can do if you're in a squashy tank. And, oh, hello, Type 64. Well, that's the first time he's been spotted, I think. Very nice shot into him. That would have been a really good target for the HE. I mean, just anyway, it would have been a good target for HE. But with the extra penetration, yeah, it would have been a juicy one. I probably would have gotten the kill, but instead somebody else did. So the Carnarvon makes a surprise appearance round the side there. It looks like he might drop down on the IS-6, but he's actually now backed off a bit. So, okay, he's not actually going to drop down there. The T-54E1 is still around on the other side somewhere. The Jagdpanther 2 hasn't poked over for a while, which is a pity. I was milking some nice damage out of that guy. But there we go, there's the T-54E1, who gets, unfortunately, discovered by the 12T. And I say unfortunate because it was for the 12T. He just got whacked in the face by that guy for a lot of damage, so there's one less tank on our team. But although the numbers are fairly even at the moment, we do seem to be pressing the north fairly hard and winning that fight. The Jagdpanther 2, no idea. He seems to have withdrawn entirely, and I'm just kind of looking for things I could maybe shoot on that side, but it doesn't look like I can. And hello, there's the Carnarvon, who's going for the IS-6. Now, this could be bad. The Carnarvon and the T-54E1 both go for the IS-6. I probably can't save him, but I can at least try and do some damage to the Carnarvon. And it's just, you know, will the IS-6 live long enough with his armour? Now, the IS-6 actually already got in a hit, although he bounces a shell there. And this is now 2 versus 1, because the T-54E1... I don't know where he is. He's not here. And there he is. Well, he's not, he's late to that party, isn't he? Yeah. So the T-54E1 is now alone. He could have gone in with the Carnarvon and quite possibly they would have taken out the IS-6. But he hung back, let the Carnarvon go in alone, and now he's alone and isolated. And we've won at this point. I mean, it's not been without a cost. Our team has lost a fair few tanks, but we have quite conclusively won. Now, I'm waiting for allies to turn up before I just rush in against the T-50 or E1, because I really am wary of that gun. It's like, what, is it 4 or 5 shots of 400 each? So it can whip out the damage. And there we go. Someone else gets the kill, but I do get a bit of damage out of him. So that just leaves an Oni up in the north who is about to die. It looks actually like I'm just about to get a shot, and then somebody kills him at just that moment. So that just leaves the Jagdpanther 2, who was last spotted up there. And I was thinking at this point, well, surely he's withdrawn back to like A0, or maybe he's fallen over to the 0 line, you know, further along, sort of EF0, so he can use the terrain there, use his gun depression, try and get in a couple of last shots before he dies. Because that's what, you know, if he's withdrawn, if he's feeling like the fight was lost, he was going to fall back to a defensible position, not that you can defend against that many, then, you know, that's where he would have gone, surely. But no, he's still there. It's just he was sat there, apparently not really doing anything. So I just go forward, take the hit, drive round and kill him. And it's a nice last bit of damage for me. So there you go. I don't think I've really fired anything but AP in that one. I queued up in a heat round at one point, but it was unnecessary. I was making more of an effort to use HE in the later battles, actually. I did a stream yesterday. There you go, 3.2k damage just about, 2 kills, 1100 base XP, so pretty respectable. It's not bad. It's actually the highest damage, the second highest damage of the team even. The T10 had nearly 3.8k, so yeah, the gun, when it's good, it's good. And there you go, 90k profit, but it would have been less profit because maybe I did shoot an HE shell, or did I use a premium? No, I must have shot a heat shell or something like that. I must have, yeah, so the profit would have been less because there would have been the credit consideration of a premium shell. But I accidentally left that on gold, so not that it matters. You get so much gold with these preview accounts, it just doesn't give you quite a true picture. But I feel for that amount of damage in something like a Super Pershing, for instance, that would have been a lot of profit. 3k damage in a Super Pershing, you're talking well over 100k easily. Unless you'd shot a lot of premium, that might dent your profit margin. But yeah, it doesn't feel, actually, even for really good damage games, like it's that profitable. And it might just be in that game that I was shooting more at same tier tanks than high tier tanks. Maybe that was an element of it. Maybe you just need to, you know, if you do that amount of damage against tier 9 and 10s, you would get a much better profit. But still, yeah, the profit overall felt a little lacking. It's still a fairly profitable machine to play. It does still make a fair amount of money. It's just I feel like other tier 8 premiums for the same amount of damage would maybe make more money. So apparently I've done a really bad job at spotting these people coming up on the hill, as you can see, because the T10 actually managed to get there without me seeing him. And I'm also pretty sure I just took a shot for that T110E5 because I haven't been spotted yet. So there we go. Take out that other 4190. This was a game from last night, so this was the third. This was after it had gone on sale. And I think I'm about to get very lucky against the IS-7. Oh, no, okay. I do later on. I actually managed to pen the side of an IS-7 at range, which was a fairly lucky shot. But, yeah, so it went on sale, and because it was on sale without a bundle as an option, I saw a fair few of them when I was streaming. So, although it took a while to actually get this game, to get a game that I thought would maybe give a more sort of typical feeling of this thing. Our team was pretty good in this one, and the enemy team maybe not so much. But yeah, it just took a while. But even on the games where it wasn't so good, well, you do have the typical light tank thing of if your team sucks, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And that's true in most vehicles, but particularly in light tanks, because you don't have as much health and you don't have as much armour as even a same tier medium, even though the gun is good enough. And there we go, trying a heat shell there. Didn't quite get the high roll necessary to kill him, however, but still. So yeah, it's not without some minor drawbacks, this machine, but it's hard to complain about it too much, because it's nice, and it feels like a tier 8 light tank. Maybe not quite as good in some ways as some of the others, but it does have some advantages going for it, the principal one being the aim time. But you compare that to the Sentinel, for instance, which just had that one stat that made it really rather undesirable. The aim time on a 40mm gun was just ridiculous, and so far off its contemporaries that used that 40mm 2-pounder gun. Whereas this actually, you know, it feels probably balanced for a tier 8 light tank. So, yeah, Wargaming's premiums are still rather hit and miss. You get good machines like this and the Mutz, and then you get not so good machines like the Canonian Jagdpanzer and the Sentinel. So I spot the FE 4005 down there, which is a fairly rare sight, and I decide I'm going to try out some of that HEP, high explosive. Would it be plastic? I'm not sure what the P stands for in that. Anyway, I tried a round on the Panther 2, which, as you can see, didn't pen. I got very unlucky with that Panther 2. I had a couple of AP shells that bounced on him as well. But as you can see there, that's a nice 300 odd damage HEP shell, so that went all right. Still on the HEP, which is not going to do that much against the front of a T-54 WAD 1, and in fact, I actually did 0. So, okay, it's still HE at the end of the day. So back to the AP shells. And okay, I'm probably not going to get the commander's hatch on the M103 at this kind of an angle. But we do have good control of the hill here. I think I had camo on this crew. I mean, I will have put the crew skills up on the screen earlier in the video, but I'm pretty sure camo is one that I took. And the camo value overall seemed to be pretty decent. Another bounce on the Panther 2. Although, well, I say another, actually, the first one was a 90 damage hit with the HEP shells. That one he just pulled back as I fired, basically, so it probably pinged off his front armour. We have got control of this map, it seems like, at this point. I mean, on the 1-2 line, the enemy team are being pushed back. We've got control of the hill. They still have a presence in the middle, but we have been punishing them fairly hard, so yeah, in terms of numbers, we're well ahead. And like I said, this team was good. And I think that's my experience with light tanks generally. If the team is good, it gives you so much more opportunity to actually do stuff. If the team is bad, on the other hand, there's very little you can do to stop it. So, just trying to get a bit more damage done. The T-54 Mod 1 at this point just goes completely YOLO. I was slightly worried he might try and ram into me. And there we go, I actually tracked him. But yeah, although he did kill the low health T-34, basically gave his own tank away in the process. Not quite sure why he did that, but anyway, I think I got some assistance damage out of that, having tracked him. So back to looking at the middle. I mean, that will have gotten me spotted, but no, okay, I think there's a wreck in the way there. But I should be unspotted by this point, so I should be fairly free to open fire. I think that one was aimed a bit high, probably wasn't going to hit anything. I'm now down to, I think, 10 AP shells, if I'm, yeah, 10. So you can see the rate of fire here. You can potentially run out of shells in the course of a match, I think, if you're really spamming them. So, like I was saying, you do have to be a little bit careful, even though the ammo count is good. And it is actually better than a lot of your contemporaries. You can't still afford to waste that many shells, even so. So it's down to the last couple of enemy tanks. The M103 is an easy one-shot for this gun. It's nice having this level of alpha. And although you can't maybe quite have the burst damage of the 1390 with those 240 average shells in a clip, still the reload is pretty good. It's like 6-7 seconds, something like that. So overall, yeah, it does not feel like you particularly have to be worried about anything other than autoloaders. Now the Conway, the FV, I thought he was looking my way, and that's why I backed down so hastily. But of course he wasn't, he was looking up towards the middle, so I probably could have gotten in an extra shell there. But as it was, no. But yeah, back of the turret with the 100mm of HE penetration, that could have been nice if I'd gotten another one of those in. We're down to the last enemy now, it's the enemy Death Star, and 550, not 550, 530 meters, so this is a bit iffy. That one bounced into his front. He actually does get a hit into the scout there, who then gets team killed, which is very unfortunate. but yeah, a lot of people were firing at range, and sometimes accidents like that can happen. So that time, again, first class. I don't think I managed an ace with this, but it had literally just got on sale, so I would have had to do very, very well to get an ace out of it. Again, top of the... actually, not again top of the team. I wasn't top of the team last time, but I was top of the team this time. Slightly worse score, less damage, but yeah, apparently I did enough to be top of the team, and it probably was because I was doing damage to higher tiers that time. So profit-wise, this time all credits. I'd actually unchecked the premium shells for gold, and as you can see, 70k. It's pretty respectable, but again, I feel like in something like a Super Pershing, I could have gotten more money for that level of damage. So, yeah, my impression is, overall, if you like light tanks, this is a very, very good buy. It's the cheapest of the Tier 8 premiums. It's fun to play, makes a decent profit, maybe not as good as other Tier 8 premiums, but still pretty decent. It's probably a good crew train. I don't think the Germans have another a scout tank that's a premium. There's probably, yeah, there's some low tier lights, aren't there? But they've got nothing at the high tiers. There's stuff like the T15. So if you want a crew trainer, it's probably better as that, and it's probably better as just a machine that's fun to play than as something to make lots of money with. But it still does make a decent amount of money. So overall, I would give this one a thumbs up. It feels like a pretty well-rounded machine, and I would like Wargaming to make more like this and less like the AC Sentinel, which was just profoundly disappointing. So, yeah, it's a good machine, and if you've got the money and you fancy buying it, I see absolutely no reason why not. So hopefully you found this useful, and if you have, you can leave any comments below. You can hit the like button, you can sub to my channel if you want already, and as always, stay tuned for more.